All right, so imagine this. One person whose ideas were so powerful they didn't just change an industry, they helped rebuild an entire nation from the ground up. And in the process, they completely changed how the whole world thinks about quality. Well, that man was W. Edwards Deming, and his story is, well, it's pretty incredible.
I mean, that question right there, it sounds almost impossible, doesn't it? How on earth could one American statistician help turn post-World War II Japan into a global economic superpower? It's a huge question. But, the answer to that very question would go on to redefine quality and management for generations. So, to really get a handle on Deming's revolutionary ideas, we've got to go back. We need to look at what made him tick, the experiences that forged this unique, data-driven mind of his. Okay, so here's the quick rundown. Deming was born way back in 1900. He was clearly a brilliant guy. Electrical engineering degree, then a PhD in mathematical physics from Yale. I mean, that's some serious brain power. But the real game changer for him wasn't in some ivy-covered classroom. Nope, it happened in the 1920s at Western Electric. That's where his theories first hit the real world, right on the factory floor.
And this is where he had his big aha moment. He realized that the secret to making better products wasn't just telling people to work harder. It was about working smarter. He saw that if you could just collect and analyze data, you could pinpoint the real sources of problems, what he called variation, and get rid of them for good. It was a total paradigm shift. And this philosophy, you can boil it all down to his most famous and kinda legendary quote. For Deming, this wasn't just some witty one-liner. It was the absolute law. Sure, hunches and intuition have their place, but if you're going to make a big decision, you better come with the numbers. You have to bring the cold, hard data. So you've got this powerful data-first philosophy, right? Forged on an American factory floor. Well, it was about to get its ultimate test. And not just in a single factory, but on a massive international scale. Okay, let's paint a picture here. It's right after World War II. Japan's economy is absolutely shattered. They're in a moment of true national crisis. And in that desperate moment, Japanese industry leaders knew they needed a totally new way of thinking. So they reached out and invited Deming to come share what he knew. And what he taught them was, honestly, it was transformative. He introduced this idea called statistical process control. Now, that sounds complicated, but it's actually pretty simple. It just means you use data to keep an eye on things while they're happening. So instead of finding a bunch of defective products at the very end, you're catching and fixing those tiny little inconsistencies, that variation, right at the source. It created this whole new mindset, this culture of constant, relentless improvement. So you're probably wondering, how fast did all this catch on? Well, just look at this date, 1951. And get this, that's not when he started teaching them. That's the year Japan created a national award in his honor. That's how fast it worked. I mean, just let that sink in for a second. The sheer speed and scale of his impact. The Deming Prize wasn't some lifetime achievement thing they gave him decades later. No, they established it almost immediately. It became the most prestigious award for quality in the entire country, and it basically lit a fire under a whole generation of businesses to be the best. But, and this is the great irony in this whole story, while Deming is being hailed as a national hero in Japan, back home in the United States, he was practically unknown. A total nobody. Yeah, the difference is just, it's stunning. You look at Japan in the 1950s, they're honoring him, they're adopting his principles, and it's fueling their meteoric rise. Meanwhile, back in the USA, crickets. He was pretty much ignored for decades, right up until the 1980s. And you know what finally made American companies pay attention? They were getting their clocks cleaned by their Japanese competitors. So let's talk about those ideas that finally made their way home. What exactly was this philosophy? Because it turns out this isn't just some dusty old history lesson. Deming's core ideas are incredibly relevant, a powerful guide for how we all work and even live, right now, today. Okay, at the very heart of his teaching is this brilliantly simple little loop. Plan, do, check, act, or PDCA. You can think of it as the engine of continuous improvement. It's so straightforward, right? You plan, figure out a goal. You do, try it out, but on a small scale. You check, look at the data, did it actually work? And then you act. If it worked, you make it the new standard. If not, you start the cycle all over again with what you've learned. It just never stops. And this quote, this really gets to another one of his core beliefs. Deming had zero patience for wasted effort.
Just none. He knew that putting in your best efforts is completely pointless if you're trying to solve the wrong problem. It's just spinning your wheels. That's why he was so obsessed with using data to find the real root cause before you even think about doing anything else. And that's the key takeaway here. His philosophy was never just about numbers and charts. It was a complete roadmap for how an entire organization should run. He believed quality isn't just one department's problem, it's everybody's responsibility. You have to empower people, from the top floor to the shop floor, to contribute. And, critically, you have to focus on long-term success, not just chasing short-term figures or slapping on superficial fixes.
And that, right there, is why his legacy is so powerful and enduring. These principles, using data, always improving, empowering your people, they've broken out of the factory. They've influenced everything from how we develop software to how hospitals provide care to modern leadership theory. Heck, you can even apply these ideas to your own personal development. So in the end, Deming's life work boils down to a simple but really powerful personal challenge for all of us. He taught the world that improvement isn't some destination you arrive at. It's a continuous, never-ending journey. So he leaves us with a question that's as relevant now as it was then. What will you improve today?